welcome to Up and About. I'm your host, Eniola Lunge. On Up and About, we actively pursue the development and the prosperity of the African continent. The show is transgenerational, and this means that we will be sitting and discussing with business leaders across various industries with varying levels of experience in order for us to leverage on the wealth of knowledge that they have gathered over the years. On this episode, we will be focusing on the events planning industry. Yes, all my lovers of OMB and parties and surprises, all of that we will be discussing on the show today. To help us do justice to the conversation, we have none other than Oyeyemi Olagbaiye.
Oyeyemi Olagbaiye is the founder of Belfast Events, a luxury events company whose mission is to create memories that last a lifetime. She's a trained lawyer who found her passion in planning events and aims to leave an indelible mark in the event industry.
Welcome, Yemi.
Hi, Eniola.
Great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we're just going to talk on the event industry today. We're going to be talking on how you got into the industry, what your experience has been like working with your staff, working with clients, and everything that is related to the events industry in Nigeria. But before we go into the conversation proper today, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is still Up and About, and if you're just joining us, welcome. We're about to go into the conversation proper, and this one is on the event planning industry. And of course, we still have Yemi in the studio with us. So Yemi, how did you get into the event planning industry?
Okay, so I was a student of University of Lagos. I was studying to be a lawyer, and then I'm just someone that has been very entrepreneurial. So when I was in school, I was looking for a way to earn some extra cash. So I started an ushering agency. And then I did that that's like in 2016. I did that all up until I graduated. No, sorry, I started in 2014, and then I graduated in 2016. So as at the point of my graduation, it got to a point where it wasn't enough. Like, I go for events, I go with my hostesses, the deliverable. I wanted to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be part of that person that puts it together. Like, it wasn't just enough for me to go have my girls coordinate and come. I wanted more. And it was just not enough. And then I thought of ways to expand, and it just seemed like the next logical step to take. So I underwent training at Busy Bee Academy. Shout out Mrs. Shotunde. And then I started my own event company formally. So that's how Belfast Events was formed.
That's wonderful. Well done. You really are entrepreneurial. And I like that you started, I like that you started from just hostesses, and that you expanded the business to just include the entirety of the event planning production and the entirety of the production that goes into events. And now I just want to ask you, in addition to event planning, what other businesses do you run?
Okay, in addition to my event planning, I don't practice law actively anymore. So I'm into fashion retail, so I import and export items to resell.
It's the demand you're talking about.
Yeah, I import items to resell to a local customer. That's a wholesale and retail. So that's what I do on the side when I'm not planning events.
What else?
Okay, I bake as well. I make baked goods, like desserts, kind of. Yeah, but that's just started recently in light of the pandemic.
Yeah. So did you learn that online? Did you go to school for it?
Pretty much. It started as a very funny story.
Yeah,
I was at home, and then I wanted brownies, and then for some reason I was going online to check, like, okay, how much are these people selling their brownies? But then nobody had the portion I wanted, because I just really wanted to have them at home and binge. So I'm like, okay, why don't I make? And then I went online, I got the recipes, and I made. And then I'm someone that is very social media, like I post everything on social media. And then someone asked, oh, is this for sale? I'm like, oh, no, it's not for sale. My friend was like, you should actually think about selling. So I'm like, who is going to buy it? And she's like, just try. And I did. And then that's how that came about. So over the time, I expanded to cookies, banana bread, and all other types. But yeah, that was just a hobby that turned into something that I didn't expect it to.
Okay, so this is an aside from the events industry. Whatever you want, you're looking for in the market and you can't find it, I think that you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your future customers to create it and to put it out there for sale. So in view of the pandemic, how has your events business, evolved? Or what have been the challenges that you have had to, overcome in these times?
Okay, so the pandemic came, it came ex parte, like it did not come with notice. Nobody literally saw it coming. Definitely. Like it's one of those things that I don't think, if anybody had told us as of this time last year that we will be in a pandemic, we'll be like, no, come off it. So nobody saw it coming. So nobody had like the past questions to say, this is what to do in a pandemic, or this is how to. So everybody is literally just grasping at straws and just, it's like a trial and error every day till something takes. So I think one of the industries that was hit the hardest was the wedding industry, because we had weddings lined up, we had weddings that were about to, like, and then it was, and it was just, everything is just on pause. So, but I think the first few months, it was everybody lamenting and whining, oh, weddings are not happening right now. And yeah, there was the whole pity party, but then it got to the point, and I think most people realized, okay, you've whined about it, you've complained, what are you going to do? So people started looking for new ways. So right now, what is trending right now is intimate parties. So this size of parlor, you would see transformed into what you, so now it's now like 10 guests, 15 guests. So what people are doing is, since the guests are small, let's go big somewhere else. So we are going big on decor. They're going big on the food, since we can't have the party we want to have. So it's like they're bringing the whole experience into the house. That's what is going right now, because we realize that because it's a pandemic, you can't say, I'm going to move my wedding to this date. Exactly. We don't know how long it's going to last for. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, nobody knows. And that's just very uncertain. So what people are doing right now is they're just saying, okay, rather than wait for an indefinite time that we don't know, let's just have it. So bring the wedding experience I was going to get in the hall, bring it to me at home. So we're creating an experience that you would have as if you were in a hall. The only difference is your number of guests. So you're getting everything else short of your number of guests that you would have had. And people are adapting, and that's, intimate is the new cool right now. So. And
that's lovely, because I was on Instagram the other day and I saw somebody pack food and say, oh, Owambe in a box.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very innovative and very, just creative of them. And I mean, this is actually great times in my opinion, because there is so much innovation that comes out of crisis. And if, every business owner or people who are looking to just even enter the events industry, if you're able to just sit down and think strategically of where you can be the answer to somebody else's questions, then trust me, you're in to make a truckload of money despite the pandemic. So I want to ask about, clients, relations with clients, and everything client related. But before we go into that, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
All my vendors have contracts, and I have one with my clients. So it provides for all of these kind of issues. When you don't pay me, the actions that I'll be taking are sending notices, and if at the end of everything, we know where we meet ourselves. So.
Did you know? 1. The events industry is projected to grow 33% by 2022. This is much faster than the average growth rate of all occupations at 11%. 2. Event apps grew by 68.2% from 2018 to 2019. 3. The first known event planner was Cleopatra. 4. The University of Central Florida offered the first ever Bachelor of Science degree in event management in 2006. 5. Virtual events are in. A whopping 90% of event marketers plan to invest in virtual events moving forward. Now you know.
Welcome back. This is still Up and About. My name is Eniola Lunge, and in the studio with me to discuss the event planning industry, we have Oyeyemi Olagbaiye, the CEO, Creative Director of Belfast Events. So we had just before the break spoken on how you got into the industry, how the industry is evolving because of the pandemic that we're in right now. And so I want to talk about clients now. So what has been your experience? So I want you to tell us real facts about a time when you were like, this, like, I'm going to return your money. It's not by force. Like, you can't kill me for my mother.
I don't think I should be saying that in case the client.
Yeah. But okay, so just generally though.
Okay, so basically, to understand how clients operate, you have to understand how we get clients. So 80% of clients in the wedding industry, anyways, I don't know about other like in the planning industry, is from referrals. So it's always word of mouth. So you can have a wedding in January and then have the cousins or niece's wedding in July. So it's always, if you check your client roster, 80% are from referrals from previous clients or people that know your work. So when a person refers you, the first thing I always do is I always ask the person that is referring me, oh, what kind of person am I dealing with? What kind of, I say, so some tell you, oh yeah, she knows what she wants, or she's someone that is very, you cannot sell her a different thing from what she wants. She's very particular, so just try and make what she wants come to a reality. Some will tell you, oh, she's an easygoing person, she just wants, just do what, she's okay if you give her alternatives, yeah, and then that's how, so you already have like a foresight of the clients that you're dealing with. But the thing is, there's never enough foresight that will show you the client that you're, and then I've actually got really good clients. I've never really had difficult clients. I mean, they're in between the planning, there are difficult, I don't think they're difficult clients. I think you have difficult moments in between planning where the client says, okay, this is not this or this is not that. And then I think the most difficult part of dealing with clients is that most times as a planner, and in my experience from the years I've had, I can foresee certain things. So I think the hardest part is maybe, for example, the client says, I want a black center table. And you have foreseen that in the rainy season, a black center table would have mold because you've seen it happen before. And you're trying to convince them otherwise. And they say, no, that's what I want. And then you get it for them. And then it now happens. Now, because you're the planner, they now say, oh, you want you to fix it. So now, how do you find that balance between I told you so and, okay, it has happened, how do I fix this?
Wonderful.
As much as you're upset because you know that you had given the clients every form of pre-warning that this should not be so. But clients can be very stubborn. They want what they want, even when it's not the best logical advice. So sometimes you just have to sit back and let stuff play out. So what I usually do is when I have a client that I'm telling, okay, I don't think we should use this vendor, this, that, and they're saying no, I always have my backup plan. So I don't even wait for, sometimes it might not come to what I said it would be, but I don't wait for it to happen. I always have a backup plan. Like, for example, there's a hall, I'm not going to mention the name of the hall, they have generator issues, everybody in Lagos knows. But the client wanted that hall by all means, and I had advised her against it because generator goes off mid-event. So I knew that could happen, and then I already had a standby number of people that rent generators during events. Luckily for us, it didn't go off. But if that had gone off, rather than me say, oh, I told you, or everybody's crying, I would have had my generator guy's number a call away. And then subsequently, we know how to address legal with the issues with the hall and clients. So they are not difficult clients per se. There are difficult moments or difficult decisions that make the client seem difficult.
That's amazing. Yeah. That was really good, Yemi. That was wonderful. So as a stakeholder in the events industry, or as somebody who's trying to, build your own events business, always make sure that you have a backup plan. Even if the client wants one thing and you know that, oh, as somebody who has been in the industry and who is actually, an active player in the industry, and so you have the insights that the clients might not just have. So just take it in, incorporate their wants into the plans, but also have, a resource that would save your own face in the events of, the circumstance happening that you foresaw was going to happen. So now I want to ask you, so what do you do when you don't get paid for your services? And how does pricing work, really?
Okay, so for pricing, in it always for every client there's no set pricing. So for every client, for me, I don't know about other people, for me there's no set pricing. Every client has different needs and every need has different expenses. So for me, what I generally do, so let's say you reach out to me, or you got referred from Eniola, your wedding is coming up, this, that. So I have like a questionnaire I send to you to fill. It basically asks you like, oh, do you have a hall? Do you have a hall? What vendors do you have or do you not have already? And a bunch of other questions. But when I see the questionnaire, I already can now see, I can envision the amount of work that is going to be done. If, for example, you tell me you have a hall, I know, okay, automatically venue sourcing is out of it. So that already, your money is not going to be as, because when I venue source, if I suggest like 5 halls to you and we pick 3, we physically have to go there to check their ACs, check the quality of chairs, the quality of their sound. So all of that is factored into how much I will charge you. So then if you have some of your vendors, it means I don't have to, you probably have negotiated with them already. So I just take over from wherever you are stopped and then incorporate them into the rest of the planning. But yeah, so that's literally how I determine my pricing. So when I see the overview of what you want to do, I send you a dummy, let me not use the word dummy, I send you an estimated price list that basically has a range of prices that, okay, with what you said you want to do, your total wedding will cost between this amount, like this is the lowest it can go for what you said from our consultation, this is the lowest it can be, and this is the highest it can be. So most times it always ends up in the middle or towards the high. But when I send the estimated budget, then we now go on to commitment and then we start the planning process.
Wonderful. So when clients don't pay?
Okay, when clients don't pay. Okay, so maybe because of my background in law, I go into contracts with all of my clients, and it's the same. I also extend that same
courtesy to
what's the word? Courtesy to vendors. So even when a client has a vendor that they have, maybe, oh, they said this one is my family, mommy, yakine koni, I tell them, the terms of my agreement with you says that any vendor that is coming on board, whether brought from you or anybody else, has to enter into a contract with you on behalf of me. So so all my vendors have contracts, and I have one with my clients. So it provides for all of these kind of issues. When you don't pay me, the actions that I'll be taking, I send you notices, and if at the end of everything, we know where we meet ourselves. So everything is legally backed, and I have a payment process. So you're not even going to get to that point where I'm on your wedding morning and you're still with my money. We have our payment process.
That's amazing. So we are also going to be talking about your best experience in the industry so far. We're going to talk on referrals, how referrals work, and challenges that upcoming event planners can avoid that you have experienced and overcome. But we'll be going on a quick break first, and then we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere, because there is still more on the show for you today.
Another thing that is very surprising to me, Nigerians do not read contracts. I don't understand. Like, I've had vendors that signed contracts, and then down the line of planning, we had an issue, and they're like, I'm like, what clause this, that? They're like, oh, I didn't even read it, though. Me, I just signed. I'm like,
how to succeed in the industry. 1. Acquire professional training. 2. Assemble a reliable team. 3. Be one step ahead. Expect the unexpected. 4. Ascertain that what you think the client is saying is what the client is saying. 5. Invest in standard form contracts.
Welcome back. This is still Up and About. My name is Eniola, and we still have Yemi in the studio with us discussing the event planning industry. So if you just joined us, you will definitely be doing yourself a world of good if you catch up on today's episode. So Yemi, now I just want to ask you what your best experience in the industry has been.
I think my best events or experience in the industry, I think, would be getting featured on Bella Niger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
How many of your weddings have
2.
So exactly, how exactly does Bella Niger work? Do you pay for it or is it free?
No, you don't pay. So basically, it's your content. If they say and they like it, they just pick it up. So there's no, you don't pay for it. You don't pay for a picture.
I think I saw it. I was like, oh, look at Yemi. It made me really, your like proud moment right there.
Oh my God, thank you.
Well done. Okay, so what are some challenges that upcoming event planners might face that you have encountered in the past and, you know, overcome? So could you just advise them with regards to that? Okay,
one of the challenges they might face in relation to challenges that I faced. Okay, so basically, the school I trained in, when you finish your training, they assign you to a mentor. So your mentor is you're supposed to shadow your mentor, and they're supposed to like literally guide you up until when you start planning your own event. So I think one of the mistakes I made is I wouldn't say I didn't like my mentor. I just felt like our visions were not aligned. Like her field of events was not my field of events. So I felt like I was doing myself a disservice. So I detached myself. So I learned the hard way. I learned from experience. And I think that's actually, in retrospect, I think I prefer that I learned from experience as opposed to someone telling me, oh, don't do this. I learned it and now I can never forget it. So, but if you want to take the easy way out and you don't want to go through that process, because sometimes you might not be as lucky, I would say that if you are new in the industry, find someone that is a bit more experienced than you, that you can always go to for advice, you can always go to for guidelines, and then basically, yeah. Do you want to give some examples?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the lessons that I learned on my own that I'll pass on to up and coming event planners is I'll give you 4 lessons. Never assume. Never ever make an assumption. If you are not sure, don't assume, I think this is what the client meant, or I'm sure this. No. Always make sure that both of you are 100% on the same page. It will save you, it will literally save your life. Then never pay in full. No matter how good the vendor is. I don't care if the vendor has done the governor of Lagos State's wedding. Never pay in full. There is just something about having 5% of somebody's money in your hand that makes everybody just come correct. So what I usually do is that I would let you know that your money is going to be available to you even before you're done. Like if you're a caterer, for example, even before you're done packing your place, it's going to be available to you. It's going to be with me, but you're not going to get it until you're done. So I think there's just something about knowing that 5% of my money is not with me that makes everybody just calm. And then it just makes you come correct. Then number 3, this lesson, I learned it the hard way, and then I had a very bad experience with it. And I personally had to cover I had to bear the cost because I made the mistake. Always have everything in writing. Always have everything in writing. Always have an invoice. So basically, when I started out, I didn't start my contract out immediately. It was this experience that taught me the lesson. So I reached out to a vendor on Instagram for a bride's makeup, and then we were negotiating via Instagram. So I think I said, let's say, for example, I said 120,000. She said something, and then she said, okay. So I thought she was saying okay to the 120,000. I didn't have an invoice. I didn't ask her for an invoice. And we went on. I gave her the deposit, holding on to the balance. The makeup day came. She did the makeup. Time to go. I'm like, oh, how much did I balance against? I'm like, then we started going back and forth, going back. At the end of the day, she didn't agree to the amount. It was now my word. It was now a matter of a subject of interpretation. It was now your interpretation versus my interpretation. And then at the end of the day, the money had to come out. I was the one that told the client this is how much. So I had to bear that cost. And I learned the hard way. And then another mistake a lot of up-and-coming planners make, I made the mistake too, is when you're selecting your vendors, forget about the glam. Forget about the Instagram you are seeing. I have vendors that I've worked with and I've said, this vendor is no longer on my roster. But you see them on my page and you're seeing small chops by this person. You're like, oh, the picture is so nice. Is this? But you don't know that I am never going to work with that vendor again because I know what happened behind the scene. So when you're, as much as you're going to the page of big planners to check for tags, or let me check who this person used, do you know if that photographer came 4 hours late? Do you know if that hairstylist had to fly a bike because she was late? You don't know that. So it goes beyond checking the tags of Zafaya and checking the tags of people to say, oh, who did Zafaya use for shoe? I will use her. You don't know the backstory. So as much as you're going to take vendors off tags, always do your research and forget about the glam. A lot of vendors are equally as bad as the ones that are not as popular. So always do your research and always have everything in writing. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Always sign contracts. Always have your contract signed. It would save you a lot of back and forth. It will save you a lot of I didn't know. And then another thing that is very surprising to me is Nigerians do not read contracts. I don't understand. Like, I've had vendors that signed contracts and then down the line of planning, we had an issue. And they're like, I'm like, what clause this, that? They're like, oh, I didn't even read it, though. Me, I just signed. I'm like, okay, you just signed, but you signed. Like, so they now had to come to my terms. But the thing is, they didn't read it and they signed. But that's not on me. That's on you. But yeah, so it has saved a lot. Imagine if there was no contract. It will now be he said, she said, he said, she said, and have everything in writing. Even for clients especially, if a client calls you, because I have interns on them, and I always tell them, if a client calls you, maybe to try and, it's not even just negotiate. If a client calls you for anything, try and make them cut the call and type. Have because if you agree on something over the phone, there is no witness. It's he said, she said. Try and have, or if it's a situation where you cannot do that, what you do is after the call, you send a mail in line with our concluded conversation. So just try and recap everything that you have said, send it to that client. So there's a trail of information that at a point the client said this. So it's not just the phone call that, okay, the client said she does not want yellow roses anymore. And then on that day, she's like, where are my yellow? So you'll be like, oh, ma'am, kindly refer to the mail on the photo. So just have everything in writing. It will save you a whole load of stress.
Whew. Let's blow the fire off of your hair because you came correct today. I don't know if you're an event planner, and I'm sure you must have learned something from this episode, especially the legal aspect. It's always a great idea to have contracts. You know, it's definitely my word over your word thing when you don't, and you don't want to be in that situation because it can be awkward, and there are financial, consequences to that as well. So thank you so much, Yemi, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So we just want to know a bit about you. So we're going to do not just a little, it's not even a game. It's just like something to get to know you better. Okay. So just when I say the options, just let us know which one you prefer. Okay. So heels or flats? Oh, heels. Okay, so casual or corporate? Casual. Definitely. Breakfast or lunch? Dinner. I love it. Sorry. Vacation or staycation? Vacation. iOS or Android? Oh, iOS. Who uses Android? Me. Sorry. I'm sorry. Don't hate, please. Sorry. So thank you so much, Yemi, for coming on the show today. If you missed it, please watch the recap. All right, so till I come your way again, same time next week, stay amazing.